Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up here. Going to get through a couple of items, follow up on some stuff that Ian and I discussed yesterday. Hey, and UCLA in the College World Series looks like they're taking care of Murray State as we speak. And hey, how about the Pac 12? Half the Pac 12 is in the College World Series. Now, got to think about that for a second, but it's true. Half of them are in that final eight. So, hey, it's episode 761 on the podcast. Now, it was episode 60, 760, the one Ian and I published yesterday. Didn't get a chance to talk about a number 60. I'm going to talk about a number 60 and a number 61 this time around. And it's two guys that played together. Let's talk about two offensive linemen from the greatest show on turf, Mike Grutadaria and Tom Newton. Now, Grutadaria, 6'3", 280 pounds, signed by the Cowboys, undrafted out of Central Florida. And then he was released, and he was actually released with the entire practice squad, apparently, to make room for Deion Sanders, who had just signed. So he signs with the Rams the following year, plays for the Rams in 1996 through 1999, 66 starts, including all of the 16 games in that Super Bowl run. He played in between guards Tom Newton and Adam Timmerman. Orlando Pace and Fred Miller rounded out that very good offensive line. And Newton is my number 61, 6'5", 280 pounds, out of Western Michigan. Drafted in the 7th round by the Bills, released, tried to catch on with the Broncos and the CFL and even the Amsterdam Admirals, played for them as well. And then with the Rams, 1998 through 2005. He moved over to the Jets for 1 year and then came back to the Rams and retired as a Ram. So number 60 and 61, Mike Grutadaria and Tom Newton, key members of the greatest show on turf, guys that don't get the recognition they probably deserved. You know, no Pro Bowlers here, but solid offensive linemen that helped make it all happen for our Los Angeles Rams. Actually, St. Louis Rams. And speaking of the greatest show on turf, I got a trivia question here for you before we move on. I'll give you the answer afterwards. In that 2001 season, Newton played on that team. Grutadaria did not. Marshall Faulk ran for 1,382 yards. Who was the second leading rusher on that team? Answer at the end here. Before we move on, let's talk a little bit about Derion Kendrick. You know, I was really hoping this guy would come back and establish himself as part of this rotation, but maybe we should have seen the writing on the wall. All the good things we're hearing about Emmanuel Forbes and these young guys that came out of nowhere and looked like they had potential last year. Charles Woods, Josh Wallace, even Cam Lampkin. And I'm probably leaving a couple guys out here, and a little bit of noise about AJ Green as well. But, you know, he did show signs of being a legitimate NFL starting cornerback. Just had some penalties, had some blown coverages, but he did start 18 games in 2 years for the Rams, had just one interception. And this is what I think is going to happen with Derion. He's going to pass through waivers. Nobody's going to claim him. And that I would not be surprised if a team like the 49ers or the Cardinals brought him in. That's kind of how these things work. And I hope it does work out for him, preferably not in the NFC West. Now, is this a Jalen Ramsey move, or at least a preliminary move to make room for Jalen Ramsey? I'm not so sure. I mean, it could be tied to that, but I think it's more about, opening up a little bit of salary cap room for whatever moves they might need to make. And just the fact that, they are well stocked with, players that are similar to Derion Kendrick, or perhaps have a little bit more potential and obviously are going to cost them less. So, best wishes to Derion. The ACL injury is just really unfortunate because we were hearing really good things about him in camp last year and just didn't happen for him. So hopefully hopefully it's not the end of his career. And speaking of these cornerbacks, Emmanuel Forbes, man, we're hearing a lot of good things about him making plays and getting coached up. And this could be, such a significant move the Rams made last year, claiming him. And it looks like it might be working out. He's listed as the backup at one of the cornerback positions. And I think this has more to do with the release of Derion Kendrick than anything else, any possible signing of Jalen Ramsey. I mean, Ramsey has to get released first, right? I don't think the Rams are going to trade for him. But this is a really big deal, in my opinion, that Forbes is stepping up and playing some good football. And, we hear from the Rams insiders that he's working with Aubrey Pleasant after practice, during practice on technique and just accepting coaching. He's a young guy. This is a really young cornerback group, and Forbes is one of the youngest. So, yeah, it's really, we sometimes get overly we overreact to the negative news, Alaric Jackson news, but we should be really happy what's happening with this cornerback room. And I stand by my previous comments. I understand people, I hear it every day scouring the internet, that the Rams cornerback situation is, some people would call it dire. And I disagree. Yeah, it could be improved. We could add a stud impact shutdown corner. Some would say Akilla Witherspoon is that guy, but we got a pretty good group here. It's good enough. This group is good enough to win a Super Bowl, is all I'm saying. And let's look at this cornerback room one more time. I kind of glossed through it last time. Forbes are listing him as the backup right cornerback. This is from Our Lads. Witherspoon the starter. And, Quentin Lake, it gets confusing here unless you're really familiar with the Rams. Lake is listed as a safety on the Rams roster, but he actually plays nickelback more than anything in that star position. So call him whatever you want. He's our starting nickelback at this point. And then you got Darius Williams, Quentin Lake, Akilla Witherspoon. Not a shabby group, really. And then Kobe Durant waiting in the wings there, and he just keeps on getting better and better. And I think this other group, Wallace Woods, Lampkin, AJ Green, and Sean Jolly, all have potential. They can contribute. I'm not sure about Green and Lampkin, but Woods, Wallace, and Durant, I have no issues with either of those guys getting on the field when needed. And then Emmanuel Forbes, a really high ceiling. This guy could end up being a real impact player. So, and DJ Humphries at offensive tackle, I wanted to talk about him a little bit more. Let's go over his career. First round pick out of Florida in 2015. And, it was not a good first year for him. You remember Bruce Arians, he called him, he said that Humphries was knee deep, and meaning that you needed a knee deep in his what to get him moving, to get him working hard his rookie year. So that's not good. And he was inactive his entire rookie year. Finally got moving though, in his time with the Cardinals, had a really good, decent career, 2015 through 2023, Pro Bowl in 2021. Statistically, I think 2020 was his best season though. And then he tore his ACL at the end of the 2023 season. And remember, how was he 100% when he got on the field for the Chiefs? Possibly not. He only played in 2 games for them, and as Ian pointed out, got benched for a guard at that tackle position. But another thing we glossed over, he agreed to a contract with the 49ers in April, but did not ended up not signing. So I guess that's a good thing from a Rams perspective. And per Cameron De Silva, Rams Wire, I love his stuff, and he provides some meat on DJ Humphries. His only Pro Bowl was 2021. As I said, statistically, 2020 was his best season. Allowed just 3 sacks and 695 pass blocking snaps, earned a career high 88.3 grade from Pro Football Focus. So he's been fairly consistent throughout his career. And, just those 92 snaps with the Chiefs did not go well, but let's just hope that's not indicative of how he could potentially play for the Rams. I understand the concern, but I'm a glass is half full kind of guy when it comes to our Rams. Unless we're up 34-0 in the fourth quarter, I'm still sweating bullets. But overall, I'm really hopeful that DJ Humphries, if called upon, is can answer the bell. And back to Alaric Jackson, I don't want to dive into any medical discussions too deep anyways, but someone did reach out to me. I'm not going to quote, I'm not going to cite them. If, hey, you know who I'm talking about. If you want me to, hey, you can come on the show and talk about it, but I doubt you want to. But this person with a legitimate career in medicine that relates to issues like this, he told me that if he was Alaric Jackson's doctor, he would advise that he retire. Now that's just one man's opinion. So hopeful and optimistic that Alaric plays. If he can't, I'm hopeful and optimistic that DJ Humphries is the answer. But we got to really worry about Alaric Jackson's health, and that should be preeminent. Now, as Ram fans, we get selfish sometimes. Get out there, Alaric. This is a Super Bowl run we're trying to put together here, but we don't want him to put his health and life at risk, that's for sure. So the other thing I wanted to do this episode is get back to talking about position groups, and I'm going to talk about a specific position, center. We're going to talk about the centers across the NFC West. The position groups. I did that septuplet analysis, my nerdy look at the NFC West, grading what I considered the 7 most important components. And I took some heat for a couple of my points of analysis. Hey, fair shots. Sometimes I really barely know what I'm talking about. I try to disguise it when I'm faking it till I make it here. But the center position, I think, across these 4 franchises, it's a pretty clear picture I think we have. And I'm going to start with the Cardinals. Their starting center is, I'm going to butcher this name, Jalte Froholt. And he's 6'5", 310 out of Arkansas. So he preceded Bo Limmer by 4 or 5, 6 years, I think. Played with the Patriots, Texans, and Browns. And he graded out as the 7th best center on Pro Football Focus last year, especially a good run blocker. His backup is John Gaines. He's a 4th-round pick out of UCLA. So bottom line is Pro Football Focus, I don't know why they're rating him as the 10th best entering 2025 when he was the 7th best graded last year, but that's what they say, maybe being a little unfair to him. But he's a really good run blocking center. And, this is a position that most Ram fans are probably, we don't keep our fingers on the pulse of interior offensive linemen of most teams, I think. And I wasn't familiar with this guy at all, but just a really good run blocker, solid starter, and not sure about the depth. John Gaines, can't speak to him, but he hasn't really got opportunities, obviously, as well as Froholt has played. So Cardinals in good shape at center, and then you got the Seahawks, not so much here. Oluwatimi, I think I got that right, backed up by Jalen Sundell. Oluwatimi is 6'2", 309, a 5th-round pick out of Michigan in 2023. Played 4 years at Virginia prior to Michigan. He was the Outland Trophy winner as the best interior lineman in the college football and also won the Remington Trophy as the best center. Now, he started last year as a backup, and then Evan Brown suddenly retired, and he was thrust in as a starter. Appeared in 16 games, but only started 1 in 2023. 2024 appeared in 12 games, started 8. That was after the retirement there. Graded 64.2 overall by Pro Football Focus, which is fair to Midland. Struggled in pass blocking, but Pro Football Focus rates him as the 31st best center in the National Football League. So that's something they have to be concerned about. He's young, though, just getting his footing in the National Football League, but it has to be a concern for this Seahawk offensive line, where they've made some improvements elsewhere, but they're really counting on Oluwatimi to step up. And Jalen Rundle, the backup, he was the FCS champion for 3 years at North Dakota State, 6'5", 301. So he's a backup that obviously has some potential. He was undrafted in 2024 and signed as an undrafted free agent. So Seahawks have a concern there. Cardinals in good shape. And then Jake Brendel is a guy that we're all somewhat familiar with, 49er center, 6'4", 299, undrafted out of UCLA, another UCLA center, signed by the Cowboys, didn't stick, over to the Dolphins and the Ravens. Really, I don't know if he's even ever active in a game for those two teams. Signed by the 49ers in 2020, and now he has 51 career starts for the 49ers. Overall, towards the bottom on PFF, a decent blocking grade, 71.6. PFF ranks him as the 24th best center, and it's basically due to his struggles as a pass blocker. A good run blocker, so he's a veteran, 70.0 plus run blocking grade over the last 2 seasons. And their backup is Matt Hennessy. He was a Falcons 3rd-round pick in 2020. Nothing to get too excited about. Brendel is a serviceable center, but does have some serious issues in pass blocking. But, Kyle Shanahan and his offense is really good at making sure these guys that are, their vulnerabilities or perceived vulnerabilities are covered up. And this offense still rolls on pretty darn well regardless. And then you got the Rams, Coleman Shelton, coming over from the Bears. He's 6'4", 285 pounds, out of Pasadena, Loyola High School, undrafted out of the University of Washington in 2018. 49ers and Cardinals both had him on their offseason practice squads with the Rams in 2019 through 2023. So yes, he is a Super Bowl champion. Over to the Bears for 1 year and now back. Overall, 66.4 grade from Pro Football Focus. And if I'm not mistaken, he's the only one of these 4 guys that has a better pass blocking grade than a run blocking grade. Pro Football Focus rates him as the 19th overall best center. So he's ahead of Brendel, well ahead of Oluwatimi. But the Cardinal center is clearly the best rated in this division. And the backup, Bo Limmer, not too shabby as far as backups go. Bo Limmer started a bunch last year, and he had some issues pass blocking, but I think he's established that he's a pretty darn good run blocker. And so the Rams are pretty deep at that position. Bo Limmer can swing over to guard as well. So what's the summary on the center position? 49ers solid in the run game, passing game, not so much. But again, this offense, their offense, I don't think it's a big concern if their center struggles in pass blocking because, they're a pretty well-oiled machine, and their offense is designed to, get rid of the ball quickly, protect the quarterback. And if the center is struggling in pass blocking, this offense will generally still do just fine. Seattle, it's a major concern at the center position. Maybe they'll figure out a way to cover it up, but their starting center has not fared well so far. He's young. Maybe he'll be better. Rated as the 2nd worst starting center. That's kind of scary. And Arizona, they got the best starter in the division, no doubt about it. And I wouldn't say it's even close. He's a stud in the running game, and he's not too shabby in the passing game either. So I think Arizona should be very happy with their situation there. And the Rams, it's about depth and stability. depth in that they have Bo Limmer there and stability in that. Coleman Shelton is very familiar with Sean McVay's offense. Sean McVay is obviously very comfortable with Shelton as the starter. I mean, he didn't even blink after signing Shelton and christening him as the starting center, which thought was kind of messed up. Bo Limmer may be in the doghouse for an entire year because of one very critical missed block. We don't want to talk about that anymore, but it's the truth. So Coleman and Shelton, depth and stability. So overall, Arizona on the top, Rams and 49ers in that order, follow them, and then the Seattle situation bringing up the rear, pretty much how Pro Football Focus has them stacked as well. A few other notes. I saw a article, Justin Carter on MSN.com of all places. And, I'm not going to take issue with Justin Carter, just going to disagree with him on this one article. He said that there are 5 NFL contenders whose Super Bowl window is about to get slammed shut, and one of them was the Rams, and I beg to disagree. And he focused on the fact that Matthew Stafford is when Matthew Stafford's play starts to decline or the Rams move on for him, it's over for this Rams team as far as pursuing a Super Bowl. And I think that's a little premature. Potentially the window could close, but I'm certainly not going to I'm not going to sell Sean McVay's ability to coach this team up regardless of who the quarterback is. And I'm not going to sell Les Snead short as far as being able to get the right quarterback in here and lead this team back to the promised land. It's too early to say. This team, people were saying their window shut after that Super Bowl because they had gone all in, as they like to say, and we proved them wrong. The Rams proved them wrong very quickly. One down year, and here they are as one of the premier franchises in the league again. And if Matthew Stafford's play declines, or if Matthew Stafford retires in a year, are you telling me that this team is absolutely going to be out of the picture, out of contention? I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'd need to know who the quarterback is, but I think the Rams will figure it out. I don't think the window will ever close as long as Sean McVay is coaching this team and Les Snead is a general manager. They may have a bad year here or there. They may have a bad blip on the radar due to injuries or maybe dealing with a rookie quarterback for 1 year, but they're going to be okay long term. Now, I wanted to share with you, there's a poll on the YouTube channel. Check it out. I was working on my next edition of the greatest 50 Rams ever. I'm saving that for the summer, later in the summer. And I was thinking about these 4 guys. Now, Jared Verse isn't in contention for the top 50 Rams all time. I'm limiting it this time around to retired or players who have left the team, Cooper Kupp. But so Jared Verse isn't on this list. But among the other 3, I was really struggling with how to rank them: Kevin Carter, Leonard Little, and Robert Quinn. And I know they bring different things to the game, especially, Little and Quinn, I think, are more pure pass rushers, especially Little. Kevin Carter, a more complete defensive end, defensive lineman. But I proposed a situation and asked you, who would you want out there on the field? So check that out. I'm kind of proud of that question. It gets the juices flowing. And wrap things up, the answer to my trivia question: 2001 Rams, the team that went to the Super Bowl, who was their second leading rusher behind Marshall Faulk? Faulk had 1,382 yards. Trunk candidate, number 2 on the list, rushing yardage for that team, 441 yards, a 5.7 yards per carry average, not too shabby. Trunk candidate. I probably talked about that once before. If I have, it's been a couple years, but that's all I got out here from Rams Up.